Karen made a mistake, the kind that starts off harmless and slowly grows fangs. She believed everyone around her was the same, that every outsider was beneath her scrutiny, and that power was something she possessed simply by standing near it. What she never considered was that real authority doesn't announce itself. One afternoon, she chose to harass the wrong person, and that single decision set off a chain reaction that crept into every corner of her carefully controlled world. Karen had always loved inserting herself where she didn't belong. She questioned anyone she didn't recognize, demanded badges, passes, explanations, and compliance. She treated curiosity like a weapon. I warned her more than once, not because I cared for her, but because I saw how dangerously confident she'd become. Welcome to Deed's Tales. Make sure you like and subscribe for premium HOA drama. She spoke down to delivery drivers, visitors, cleaners, and even family members who dared show up without her approval. She strutted through the neighborhood like a self-appointed checkpoint officer, acting as if the sidewalk were her personal border crossing. I told her calmly that one day she'd provoke the wrong person. She laughed it off. Instead, she turned her focus on me. Suddenly, every minor regulation became ammunition aimed at my house. Trash bins measured down to inches, complaints about paint shades, noise violations pulled from thin air. By midday, she'd made me her favorite target for fabricated fines and loud displays of imagined authority. The neighborhood learned quickly to keep their heads down. People avoided eye contact. Guests parked farther away just to avoid her attention. Karen thrived on intimidation. She loved hearing her own voice carry across the street. She loved feeling powerful in a place where power was mostly pretend. I stayed distant, documented everything, and waited. Patience isn't giving up. It's knowing when to let truth arrive on its own. That moment came on a day that felt ordinary. I had an appointment across town and was already running behind. I ordered a ride, stepped outside, and felt nothing unusual. No warning signs, no sense of drama, just another forgettable afternoon, or so I thought. Life moved quickly that afternoon, the way it always does right before everything turns upside down. My Uber arrived within minutes, a dark sedan gliding to a stop in front of my house. The driver stepped out briefly to confirm my name. He was calm, steady, unremarkable in the best way. There was a quiet composure about him, someone familiar with chaos but uninterested in feeding it. I climbed into the back seat, relieved, already thinking about my schedule. We drove off without incident. Just another ride, just another day. About 5 minutes later, my stomach dropped. I'd forgotten my office gate pass. Without it, security wouldn't let me in. I explained the problem, annoyed at myself. The driver didn't complain or roll his eyes. He simply nodded and turned the car around like it was routine. When we pulled back onto my street, he stopped in front of my house again. I told him I'd be quick and rushed inside. I barely made it upstairs before I heard shouting, sharp, aggressive, unmistakable. My chest tightened before my mind caught up. I looked out the window and there she was, Karen, arms waving, finger jabbing, planted beside the driver's door as if the street belonged to her. I dropped everything and ran back outside. By the time I reached them, Karen was already putting on a show. She accused the driver of loitering, illegal parking, running an unlicensed business, and scoping out the neighborhood. The driver remained seated, window cracked, voice calm. He told her he was waiting for his passenger. She didn't care. I stepped between them and explained clearly that he was my ride and that I'd asked him to wait. Karen spun on me instantly, claiming he'd disrespected her and refused to answer her questions. The driver introduced himself politely as Mr. Spencer and asked her to step away from the vehicle. That only made her louder. Logic slid right past her like water off concrete. Neighbors started gathering, phones came out. Karen fed on the attention, convinced this was her moment. She didn't realize she was already losing control. When she noticed no one was backing her up, she snapped. Karen shouted that Mr. Spencer was a criminal, a scammer, a threat hiding in plain sight. She claimed she'd seen him before, insisted he was casing homes, and then declared she'd prove it by calling the police. She dialed 911 and began pacing, firing off lies to the dispatcher, saying he refused to identify himself and was trespassing. I tried to correct her, explaining the truth, but she talked over me like I didn't exist. Mr. Spencer stayed composed, hands visible, voice low. He warned her again to step away from the vehicle. She ignored him, leaned closer, and jabbed her finger against his window while screaming inches from the glass. The crowd murmured. Someone let out a nervous laugh. That was the final trigger. Karen lunged forward and swung, trying to slap him through the open window. It was fast and reckless. He caught her wrist midair with startling precision. No struggle, no theatrics, just complete control. The street went silent. He held her wrist for a brief second, firm, restrained, then released her and told her to step back. She stumbled, stunned, then erupted, screaming that she'd been assaulted. Moments later, sirens pierced the air. 2 patrol cars pulled up. Karen ran toward them, arms flailing, demanding arrests and pointing wildly at Mr. Spencer. The officers assessed the scene, the witnesses, the tension, the frantic woman. One officer approached the car and asked the driver to step out. Mr. Spencer complied slowly, hands visible. He leaned toward the officers and spoke quietly, producing a badge and identification. Everything changed instantly. Postures shifted, voices softened. Karen's accusations died mid-sentence as realization washed over her face, confusion, then fear, then disbelief. The street suddenly felt much smaller. The situation concluded the way true authority always does, calmly and without argument. Officers separated everyone, reviewed the 911 call, and watched the videos neighbors readily provided. Karen attempted one last speech about her rights, but timestamps and recordings spoke louder. She was handcuffed, informed she was under arrest, and placed into the back of a patrol car. The same kind she once claimed answered to her. The neighborhood stayed silent as the car drove away. Once everything was resolved, Mr. Spencer returned to the driver's seat and asked if I still wanted to continue the trip. I did. He logged the delay, drove professionally, and dropped me off without comment. The ride ended. The moment passed. Weeks later, consequences followed. The prosecutor filed charges supported by body cam footage, witness videos, and the recorded emergency call. Karen stood in court without titles or theatrics. The judge focused on actions, not excuses. The verdict was clear. She was convicted of assault on a law enforcement officer, false reporting, obstruction, and misdemeanor vandalism. Sentencing followed: 9 months in county jail, 2 years of supervised probation, mandatory anger management, community service, full restitution, and a permanent no-contact order. The judge reminded her that imagined authority does not override the law. Back in the neighborhood, life returned to normal. The HOA removed her from all influence. Fines disappeared. Visitors came and went freely. Meetings became dull and procedural, exactly how they should be. Power stopped shouting from sidewalks. It stayed where it belonged. Like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns. Do you think she got what she deserved? Comment below. The end.